Have you ever paused, truly paused, and wondered why, despite all your efforts, certain parts of your life still feel misaligned? Why some dreams remain just out of reach, no matter how hard you visualize, manifest, or try to stay positive? What if the missing piece isn't in doing more, but in remembering who you are beneath the layers you were taught to wear? There is a power within you that doesn't need to be earned, proven, or chased. A power so ancient, it predates fear. So intimate, it lives in your breath, your heartbeat, your frequency. We've been conditioned to believe that power is something external, that shaping reality is a privilege reserved for the few, the lucky, the chosen, the spiritually elite. But the truth is much simpler and much more radical. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, concentrated into form. You don't just walk through reality, you generate it, moment by moment, choice by choice, vibration by vibration. And if you've been feeling the call, that whisper that says, "There's more," this is not your imagination. It's your remembrance beginning to surface. So the real question is, are you ready to awaken the part of you that never forgot? Are you ready to reclaim your divine authority and step into the reality your soul has always known? Because when you do, nothing stays the same. Not your life, not your energy, not the world around you. Let's begin. From the moment you were born, the world began telling you stories. Stories about who you are, what you're allowed to feel, what you're permitted to dream, and where your limits should be drawn. Slowly, subtly, you were shaped to forget your nature. You were trained to shrink, to seek validation outside of yourself, to believe that real power lies somewhere out there, beyond your reach, behind titles, achievements, or divine intermediaries. But beneath all that noise, something in you always knew. A quiet truth, a still voice, a remembrance. You were never meant to be powerless. Power in its truest form was never about control. It was never about dominance or ego or force. Divine power is creative. It is healing. It is magnetic. It is alive. And it flows through you, not because you earned it, but because you are it. The problem is not that you don't have power. The problem is that you were conditioned to believe you shouldn't use it. Think back. How many times have you dimmed your light so others could feel comfortable? How many times have you silenced your intuition because logic told you to ignore it? How many times have you doubted your ability to influence the world around you, even though your soul was whispering, you were born to shift timelines? There is a reason why you feel drawn to conversations like this. It's not just curiosity. It's not just interest. It's resonance. Some part of you recognizes this frequency. Some part of you remembers that there was a time, perhaps in lifetimes past, or in realms beyond this one, when you knew how to hold energy, how to shape reality with intention, how to co-create with the divine without fear. And now, that memory is reactivating. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about unbecoming what you were told to be. It's about stepping out of the illusion of smallness and into the raw, unfiltered essence of who you've always been. Yes, the world will try to pull you back. Yes, your own fears will rise as you begin to expand, but none of that is more powerful than the light that lives in your core. You see, awakening your divine power isn't a dramatic event. It's not a single ritual or ceremony or breakthrough moment. It's a slow ignition, a series of conscious choices, a remembering, and with every breath you choose, collapse into the illusion of helplessness or rise into the truth of your infinite capacity. And maybe the more important question isn't whether you can access this power. Maybe the real question is, what becomes possible when you finally do? What shifts in your relationships, your energy, your path, when you stop waiting for permission and start standing in the authority that was always yours? Because deep down, you've always felt it. That pull, that truth, that knowing. You were never meant to be powerless. You were born to remember and to rise. There's a sacred truth that echoes through all spiritual traditions, ancient philosophies, and even the silent spaces of your own soul. And it's this: There is a divine force living within you, vast and eternal, waiting not to be found, but to be remembered. Not outside, not in the sky, not locked in a temple or written in a book, but curled in the center of your being like a sleeping God, quiet, still, and infinitely powerful. You felt it before, in the moments of awe when the world suddenly made sense, in the heat of your intuition when something just knew, in the fire of your longing, your creativity, your ability to imagine beyond what you were told is real. The God within you is not some mythical being. It is the essence of your consciousness. It's the part of you that knows how to heal, how to manifest, how to speak to the universe and be heard. It's the part that doesn't need to be convinced it's worthy, because it remembers it is everything. So why does it sleep? Because from the very start, you were taught to hand your power away. You were trained to disconnect from your body, your emotions, your knowing. You were taught that divinity exists outside of you, that you must seek, strive, earn, or suffer to touch something holy. And slowly, as the years passed, that radiant center inside you dimmed. Not because it was gone, but because it was buried, under self-doubt, under shame, under roles you were forced to play, under the noise of a world that fears awakened beings. But the God within you has never left. It watches, it waits, it whispers in your dreams and surges up in your deepest moments of clarity. And sometimes, it cracks open through pain, when life strips away your distractions and suddenly you remember what's real. Maybe you've been told not to trust your inner power. Maybe you've been told that speaking to your higher self is imagination, that inner visions are fantasy, that longing for something greater is foolish. But that's because people who remember their divinity can no longer be controlled. They no longer fit inside boxes or accept the limits of false authority. They awaken, and when they do, they start to shape their world rather than be shaped by it. This sleeping God within you is not an ego trip. It's not about becoming better than others. It's about unity with yourself, with the source, with all life. When you awaken this part of you, you begin to live from alignment, not performance, from presence, not fear, from co-creation, not survival. So how do you begin? By listening, by choosing to trust your own experience again, by honoring your emotions as messages, not weaknesses, by creating space for silence so you can hear the voice of your soul again, by stepping into practices that nourish your energy, open your heart, and strengthen your intuition, not for show, but for sovereignty. And maybe most importantly, by forgiving yourself for forgetting. There is no shame in sleeping. But now you are waking. And every time you choose presence over programming, every time you claim your truth instead of performing for approval, you are stirring the God within. Every time you honor your boundaries, speak your vision, feel your emotions without collapsing, you are returning to your throne. You do not need anyone's permission to rise. You do not need to be perfect to be divine. You only need to remember. Because the world is not waiting for another savior. The world is waiting for you, fully awake, fully present, fully aware of what you carry inside. And once this sleeping God opens its eyes, nothing remains the same. What it truly means to shape reality. To shape reality is not about control. It's not about forcing the world to bend to your will or making everything around you behave the way you want. That's not power. That's resistance. Real creation doesn't come from force. It comes from alignment. To shape reality means to live so deeply connected to your truth, your energy, your intention, that the external world begins to organize itself around the frequency you carry within. It means becoming the center of your own field, not to dominate others, but to co-create consciously with the universe. The truth is, you are shaping reality all the time, through every thought you allow to live in your mind, through every belief you choose to feed, through every emotion you don't process, and every dream you don't follow. Even in your silence, your frequency is creating. The question isn't if you're shaping reality, the question is how. Do you shape from fear or from trust? From a wound or from your soul? Are you reacting Or are you remembering that you are the artist, not the accident? Shaping reality starts long before things show up in the physical. Reality bends in response to vibration, and vibration is born from awareness. So when your inner world is scattered, reactive, clouded by doubt, or stuck in survival, your external life becomes a reflection of that incoherence. But when you begin to harmonize within, when your thoughts align with your soul's voice, when your emotions are honored and released, when your body is treated as sacred, when your boundaries are clear, when your energy is focused, something begins to shift. You start noticing synchronicities. The right people cross your path. Ideas arrive in dreams. Doors open where before there were only walls. And it's not luck, it's not chance, it's alignment. But this isn't instant gratification. Shaping reality requires devotion, not to an outcome, but to yourself. It asks you to stop outsourcing your power to external systems, old stories, or even spiritual dogmas that tell you you're still not enough. It asks you to embody the truth you've been repeating, not just speak it. To stop waiting for permission to be magical. To stop pretending you're confused when deep down, you know exactly what you're here to do. And no, it doesn't mean your life becomes perfect, but it becomes true. It becomes yours. To shape reality is to become a conscious participant in the unfolding of the cosmos. It's to understand that your inner state matters, that every time you say no to what's misaligned and yes to what your soul is craving, you are shifting timelines, that your healing ripples through generations, that your joy is not trivial. It's a revolutionary act of creation. And this power is not reserved for gurus or saints. It's not about rituals or robes or having all the answers. It's about presence, choice, courage. It's about learning how to sit with yourself so deeply that you begin to hear the subtle movements of your own divinity and respond to them moment by moment. So if reality is the canvas and your energy is the brush, what are you painting? Are you repeating someone else's vision, or are you daring to create your own? Are you building from old fear-based blueprints, or are you willing to let them crumble and stand in the space of not knowing until a new truth emerges? This is what it means to shape reality. To know that the universe is listening, always, and it responds not just to your words, but to your frequency. Not to what you say you want, but to what you are. And the more you awaken the divine power within you, the more this truth becomes undeniable. Reality does not happen to you. You are not a passive observer. You are the spark behind it all. So the real question is not whether you can shape reality. There are two very different ways we've been taught to interact with reality. One is rooted in force, the other in vibration. One exhausts us, the other liberates us. One disconnects us from the divine current. The other places us back into the flow we were born to live in. Let's begin with the law of force, because this is the one most of us know all too well. Force is what the world teaches. Push harder, do more, grind longer, hustle endlessly. It tells you that you must earn everything. That reality is against you unless you conquer it. That success requires sacrifice, and that power is something outside of you that you have to chase. It sounds like, I have to make this happen or it won't. If I don't act now, I'll lose the opportunity. I need to control every outcome or everything will fall apart. The law of force is reactive. It is born from a belief in separation. Separation from your source, from timing, from trust. It believes in lack, and it feeds on urgency. You can live an entire life ruled by this energy, and many do. But over time, something inside you begins to crack. Because deep down, your soul knows this is not how creation was meant to feel. Now contrast this with the law of vibration. Vibration doesn't push, it resonates. It doesn't manipulate, it attracts. It doesn't strain, it aligns. The law of vibration understands that everything in existence is energy, moving at a frequency. Your thoughts, your body, your emotions, the chair you're sitting on, the people around you, all of it vibrating. And everything that comes into your life arrives not by accident, but through resonance. You don't get what you want. you get what you are. So when your internal frequency is chaotic, fearful, or unworthy, even if you try to manifest peace or success, what echoes back is confusion, resistance, and stagnation. Why? Because vibration cannot be faked. The universe responds to the truth of your energy, not the surface of your words. This is why force and vibration are often in conflict. When you're forcing, you're usually vibrating out of fear. You're acting out of distrust. You're sending the message, I don't believe the universe has my back, so I must control everything myself. But when you shift into vibration, when you choose alignment over urgency, trust over tension, clarity over chaos, something profound begins to happen. Reality softens. You meet less resistance. Ideas come with ease. People feel magnetized to your presence. Things that once felt blocked begin to flow. And no, this doesn't mean you sit and do nothing. It doesn't mean you become passive or lazy. It means that your action becomes guided, not panicked. It means that you work with the current, not against it. The law of vibration is not about inaction. It's about inspired action. And that kind of movement, when born from your center, is 10 times more powerful than action born from fear. But let's be honest, choosing vibration over force isn't always easy. Because force is loud. It's rewarded. It looks like progress. Vibration is quiet, subtle. It requires deep listening, patience, and self-trust. It asks you to feel instead of rush, to pause instead of panic. And in a world addicted to productivity and results, choosing this path can feel like rebellion. So here's the question that sits at the center of this entire teaching. Are you creating your life from contraction or expansion? Because when you live in force, your world shrinks. You feel alone, depleted, constantly chasing something just out of reach. But when you live in vibration, your world begins to expand. You remember that you are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, vibrating in human form. You are not here to control everything. You are here to tune yourself and trust that what is meant for your frequency will find you. The law of vibration is a return to sovereignty. It's the art of mastering your energy so deeply that the world around you becomes a mirror, not of your fear, but of your essence. It's a homecoming, and it begins the moment you stop pushing and start resonating. So the next time you feel yourself striving, forcing, or collapsing under pressure, pause. Ask yourself, is this force or is this flow? Is this alignment or anxiety? Am I acting from the truth of my frequency or trying to outrun my fear? Because the law is always in motion. The question is, which one are you living by? Before anything exists in the physical, it first exists in the invisible. Before a word is spoken, before an action is taken, before a result is born, there is a whisper, a subtle nudge in consciousness, a spark of will. That spark is intention. Intention is the seed of all creation. It's the invisible blueprint behind every manifestation, every path, every energetic pattern we live through. And yet, most people are walking through life unaware of the intentions they carry, or worse, carrying intentions that aren't truly theirs. Let's pause here. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is the energy behind what I want? Or, is the life I'm building aligned with my soul's desire, or someone else's version of success? Because here's the truth. We are all manifesting all the time. Whether consciously or not, your energy is creating ripples. But the difference between a life lived by default and a life lived by design is intention. When intention is clear, reality has a shape to follow. When it's scattered, reality reflects that too. You can hustle, work, and strive endlessly. But if your inner blueprint is rooted in fear, the fruit of your labor will taste hollow. Likewise, you can move softly, even slowly. But if your intention is aligned, centered, and pure, what you touch can become divine. Intention is not a wish. It's not a passing hope. It is a sacred decision, a conscious direction of energy. It is the inner declaration. This is what I stand for. This is what I call in. This is what I choose to embody. And this is what makes intention so powerful. It is not just about what you want to receive. It's about who you are willing to become to hold it. You cannot call in peace while living in chaos. You cannot ask for love while rejecting your own heart. You cannot seek purpose while betraying your intuition. Intention demands inner congruence. It requires the alignment of thought, emotion, and energy, all moving in the same direction. And when that alignment is real, you become magnetic. You become clear. The universe listens, not just because you asked, but because you resonated with what you asked for. But intention is also subtle. It lives beneath the surface. Sometimes what we think is an intention is actually a disguised wound. For example, I want to be successful may carry the hidden frequency of, I don't feel worthy unless I prove myself. I want a relationship may carry the vibration of, I don't want to be alone with myself. This is why self-honesty is crucial. You must learn to ask not only what you want, but why. Because your why is the root. And if the root is twisted, the tree can never grow straight. This is the deep work of intention, purification. It's the process of returning to truth again and again until what you're creating is no longer a reaction to pain, but a response to your soul. So how do you set powerful intentions? Start with stillness. Before doing, listen. Before acting, attune. Feel what is truly present in your heart, beneath the noise, beneath the pressure. Name what is real. Speak your intention clearly, not just with words, but with your entire being. Then, release. Intention is not about micromanagement. It's about resonance. You don't need to obsess over how or when. You simply need to become the frequency of what you intend and allow life to meet you there. And here's the mystery. Sometimes your intention won't show up the way you expect. Sometimes it won't look like what your mind imagined. But if your intention is pure, the result will always be medicine for your path. It will either bring you what you asked for or bring you what you needed to become who you asked to be. This is sacred. This is alchemy. Because when intention is activated with love and aligned with soul, it bends time. It draws the unseen into form. It moves mountains in the most subtle ways. And perhaps most importantly, it reclaims your role as a conscious co-creator of this reality. So, let me ask you, what are you planting in the field of your future? What intention is living at the root of your current chapter? Because whether you are aware of it or not, something is always being sown. And one day, soon or far, you will harvest what you've planted in the invisible. Let your intention be sacred. Let it be true. And let it be born not from fear, but from the fullness of your light. There is a path that was written long before you were born. Not in the sense of a rigid destiny, but as a living frequency, a unique code, an inner architecture that holds the essence of who you came here to be. This is your soul's blueprint. You don't find it by force. You don't manufacture it by mimicry. You remember it, piece by piece, by returning to yourself. Alignment is the art of listening to that blueprint. It's not about perfection, but about resonance. It's the moment when your outer choices begin to reflect your inner truth. It's when your thoughts, actions, and intentions move in harmony with your soul's deeper knowing. But let's pause here. Have you ever had moments when everything just clicked? When you felt in flow, time moved differently, and life responded with synchronicities too precise to be random? That's not luck. That's alignment. And just as clearly, you've likely felt the opposite. The resistance, confusion, or discomfort that comes from moving in ways that aren't true to you. That's also a message. Your soul speaks through resonance and dissonance. So what does it really mean to live in alignment? It means making decisions not from fear, but from inner authority. It means choosing paths that nourish your essence, even if they defy logic, tradition, or expectation. It means letting go of the roles you were told to play, so you can embody the truth of who you already are underneath. This isn't easy work. Alignment often requires unlearning. It asks you to strip away layers of conditioning, external validation, and inherited beliefs to rediscover the clarity of your own voice. It asks you to get honest. Are you living by your inner compass, or by someone else's map? Are your goals soul-driven or ego-fueled? Because here's the paradox. The further you drift from your blueprint, the harder life feels. But the moment you begin to return, not just spiritually but practically, things begin to move. Not always instantly but unmistakably. Opportunities arise, support finds you, your energy stabilizes, and a quiet confidence begins to grow. Not because everything is perfect, but because something inside you knows. You are home. Living in alignment is not about escaping challenge. In fact, your path will still stretch you, but you will be stretched in ways that grow you, not break you. There's a difference between pressure that deforms and pressure that refines. When you live in alignment with your soul's blueprint, your growth becomes sacred, not forced. You begin to attract experiences that activate your gifts, test your integrity, and deepen your purpose. Not to punish you, but to initiate you into higher expressions of self. And what is perhaps most powerful of all is this: alignment makes you magnetic, not in a performative way, but in a deeply natural one. You stop chasing what's not meant for you. You stop leaking energy into proving or pleasing. And instead, you start drawing into your field the people, opportunities, and timelines that resonate with your actual frequency, not the mask you've been wearing. This is where life becomes art. This is where co-creation becomes real. But the path of alignment asks for courage. It will often lead you away from what's comfortable or familiar. You might find yourself walking through the unknown, letting go of safety nets, stepping into spaces with no guarantees, only the inner knowing that this is right. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. So how do you begin to align? You listen, you feel, you slow down enough to hear the whispers beneath the noise. You reflect. Where am I betraying myself? Where am I being called to rise? You ask what your soul is asking for, and you dare to answer. And remember, alignment isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily devotion, a living dialogue between your human choices and your divine design. You recalibrate as you go. You learn to feel when you've veered off course, not with shame, but with curiosity and compassion. Because every step, every detour, every return is part of the journey back to your center. You were not meant to live a life that fits someone else's mold. You were meant to live the life that only you can live. A life that reflects the tone, texture, and light of your unique soul. So ask yourself, am I honoring the truth of my being, or am I negotiating with it? Because when you finally stop running from your blueprint, when you finally choose to live in resonance with your essence, that's when life stops being a struggle and starts becoming sacred. There's something quietly revolutionary about realizing that reality isn't fixed, that it isn't a rigid, unchangeable system playing out beyond your influence, but a mirror, a canvas, a responsive field of energy reflecting you back to yourself in every moment. We often think we're waiting for life to change before we change. We wait for the job, the partner, the opportunity, the sign. As if the external world must shift first so we can finally feel peace, power, joy, or alignment. But what if it's the other way around? What if life is already listening to you? What if your thoughts, your emotional tone, your self-image, your spoken word are already shaping the architecture of your experience? Pause and feel into that for a moment. How does your current reality reflect the stories you've been telling yourself? Not just with words, but with frequency, with emotion, with belief. If you believe, even unconsciously, that you're unsupported, life will offer mirrors of that belief. If you believe you must earn love or hustle for worth, you'll find yourself in patterns and dynamics that reinforce exactly that. And yet, when something shifts internally, the outer world begins to shift too. You've already seen this in your own life. The moment you began to feel differently about yourself, people treated you differently. The moment you stopped chasing something and found wholeness within, what you were chasing often came effortlessly. These are not coincidences. They're reflections. Your energy precedes you. Your vibration writes the script long before the scene plays out. This doesn't mean you control every single event. Life has its own intelligence, and some things arise as soul-level initiations. But even then, how you respond to life and how it responds in return is a co-creative dance. And this dance is happening now, not tomorrow, not when you become more spiritual, not when you finally heal enough, but right now, in this very moment, with every thought you think, every word you speak, every choice you make. You are not neutral in your reality. You are not just watching life unfold. You are influencing it with your presence. So ask yourself gently, what has my reality been reflecting to me lately? Is it showing me alignment, or is it calling me back into alignment? This isn't about blame. This is about power. Because once you understand that reality is a reflection, not a punishment, you stop feeling like a victim of your circumstances and start becoming a conscious participant in your life. Even the challenges, even the delays, even the contrast can become sacred messages. They reveal where your frequency is still entangled with doubt, fear, or old programming. They highlight the gap between your conscious desires and your unconscious beliefs and invite you to close that gap. Because here's the truth, most people are never told. The universe is not responding to what you want. It's responding to what you are, not what you pretend to be, not what you wish you were, not what you perform, but what you vibrate as. And that vibration is made up of your thoughts, emotions, expectations, choices, and embodiment, all layered into one energetic signature. So if you want your life to change, you don't start by chasing the outcome. You start by shifting the signal you're broadcasting. This is not wishful thinking. This is energetic law. Your reality is already responding to your presence. The question is, are you present enough to notice? Are you aligned with the energy of what you're asking for? Are your daily actions reinforcing the identity of someone who believes they're worthy of it? Or are you sending mixed signals, saying you want peace while embodying chaos, longing for love while pushing it away? Again, no shame here, just awareness, just clarity. Because when you become aware of your frequency, you become empowered to shift it, not by force, but by resonance. And once you begin to live from that space, the space of alignment, truth, and vibrational integrity, reality starts to rearrange itself in ways that feel almost magical. But it's not magic. It's you. It's your divinity in motion. It's your field echoing through the quantum. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this: you don't need to wait. You don't need to fix everything before you start. You just need to choose. Choose to become conscious of the energy you're embodying and bring that energy into coherence with what you truly desire. Because the world around you is always listening, and the moment you begin to align with the truth of who you are, fully, unapologetically, vibrationally, the world will begin to reflect it back, without delay, without resistance, without question. Your reality is already responding to you. The only real question is, what are you sending out? You were never just here to observe the world. You are not a bystander in the cosmic play of creation. You are not simply reacting to life. You are shaping it through who you choose to be, moment by moment, breath by breath, frequency by frequency. And the truth is, the world doesn't change because of what you say. It changes because of what you are, because of the signal you carry, the coherence you embody, the energy you hold when no one is watching. Everything is frequency, from the most radiant galaxy to the smallest breath of thought. It's all vibration. And you are vibrating too, constantly emitting your own signal into the great field of life. You don't need to force this signal. You don't need to chase it. You are it. You're already radiating something. The only question is, are you doing it consciously? Because when you shift your frequency, you shift the field around you. You become a tuning fork, and those who come near feel the invitation to align, rise, return to truth. This is why your healing matters, why your inner work is not just personal, it's planetary. Every time you choose love instead of fear, every time you anchor into trust rather than control, every time you embody peace in the face of chaos, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the collective frequency grid of Earth. You are the alchemist. You are the temple. You are the gateway between the invisible and the tangible, and your frequency is the brush that paints new worlds. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you have to be honest. Honest about your patterns, your wounds, your power, and your desire to live in truth. Because your presence, raw, real, unfiltered, carries a vibration more potent than any script or strategy. You don't need to try harder. You need to remember who you are. Because when you do, everything begins to respond, as if the universe has been waiting for you to wake up to the brilliance that's always lived inside you. You've always had access to this, the ability to harmonize your energy with creation itself, to speak not just with words but with resonance, to manifest not just with intention but with embodiment, to lead not with control but with coherence. You are the frequency that changes everything, not because you are louder, stronger, or more powerful than others, but because you are aligned. And when you are aligned with your truth, your light, your divine essence, you don't need to convince anyone. Your vibration does the work. You begin to magnetize rather than chase. You begin to receive rather than grasp. You begin to become the answer rather than search for it endlessly outside of yourself. And this is the return to wholeness, the return to sovereignty, the return to remembering that you are the point from which reality bends, that you are the shift. There is nothing outside of you that defines your worth. There is no system, belief, or structure more powerful than your direct connection to Source. And the more you live from that connection, the more you stabilize your own frequency, the more the world around you transforms. Not because you made it happen, but because you became the version of you who no longer needed to prove anything. The version of you who simply held the vibration of truth so purely that the world had no choice but to reflect it back. So if you're wondering where to begin, begin here, with your presence, with your choice to remember, with the quiet, consistent, radiant frequency of someone who knows who they are, even when the world forgets. This is how timelines shift. This is how healing ripples across generations. This is how new realities are born. Not in noise, but in resonance. Not through force, but through alignment. Not from outside in, but from inside out. You are the frequency that changes everything. Now feel that, live that, be that, and watch what happens next.